I was elbow deep in bread dough when my mother walked into the kitchen, her expression instantly setting off alarm bells in my mind. I knew that look, one I had come to dread. It meant she and Dad had been discussing my future again. "Anna," she started, wringing her hands in her apron. "Your father and I have been thinking." I kept kneading, letting the rhythmic motion ground me, my fingers working the soft dough as I focused on the task at hand. The morning sunlight streamed through the cafe's windows, catching on the copper fixtures I had carefully chosen when I renovated this place. Every detail of Sweet Dreams Bakery and Cafe bore my fingerprints. The vintage-inspired wallpaper, the carefully curated menu of artisanal breads and pastries, the warmth and charm that had made it a local favorite. "Let me guess," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "It's about James taking over." Her face brightened, as if relieved that I had saved her the trouble of breaking the news. "Yes," she said quickly. "You know how he's been struggling since losing his job at the investment firm. Your father thinks this would be perfect for him. He has an MBA, after all." I let out a short, humorless laugh. "Mom, James doesn't know the first thing about running a bakery. He's never worked in food service. He doesn't even cook his own meals. But he understands business," she pressed on. "Numbers, management, all those things you struggle with." I finally stopped kneading and turned to face her fully. "Struggle with," I repeated, incredulous. "Mom, I've turned a profit every month since we opened. I paid back the startup loan in half the expected time. The cafe has a waiting list for specialty orders." But I could see that my words weren't registering. In my parents' eyes, I would always be the impulsive daughter who had dropped out of business school to pursue culinary arts, while James was a golden child. Even after getting fired for reckless trading decisions that had cost his firm millions. "Your father has already discussed it with James," she continued as if I hadn't spoken. "He's very excited about the opportunity. Think about it, Anna. You could focus on what you love, the baking, and let James handle the business side." I wiped my hands on my apron, leaving floury streaks in my frustration. "This is my business, Mom," I said firmly. "I built it from nothing. Dad may have co-signed the initial loan, but I'm the one who turned this old building into something special." She touched my arm in what she must have thought was a soothing gesture, but her words cut deeper than she knew. "Honey, we just want what's best for everyone. James needs this. He has a family to support. And I don't matter?" My voice was quiet, but the emotion in it was undeniable. "My dreams don't count because I'm single? Because I'm a woman. Don't be dramatic," she chided. "Your father has already drawn up the papers. James will be taking over as managing director starting next month." For a moment, the world tilted. "Dad can't do that," I said, even as the truth settled like a weight in my chest. The loan documents, the fine print. My father's co-signature had come with conditions. Conditions I had foolishly agreed to, never thinking he would actually enforce them against me. That evening, my father and James came to the cafe after closing. I sat across from them in one of the booths I had personally reupholstered, listening as they outlined their vision for my dream. "We'll streamline operations," James said, scrolling through something on his tablet. "Cut the specialty items. Focus on mass market appeal. No more of this artisanal nonsense." "That artisanal nonsense is what built our customer base," I pointed out. James rolled his eyes. "The customers will adjust. We need to think bigger, Anna. Chain potential, franchising opportunities. Not this small-time stuff you've been doing." My father nodded approvingly. "James has some excellent ideas for modernization. It's time this place grew up and became a real business." I looked around my cafe, taking in every carefully chosen detail. The hand-painted signs, the wall of customer photos, the display case filled with pastries crafted with care. Everything that made it special. Everything that made it mine. And now, it was about to be dismantled, replaced by my brother's soulless corporate vision. "And if I refuse?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. Dad's expression hardened. Then I'll call in a loan. You can't afford to buy me out, and you know it. He was right. I had put every penny of profit back into the business, upgrading equipment, training staff, investing in sustainability. I didn't have the cash reserves to buy out his stake. James leaned back, a smirk playing on his lips. Don't be difficult, Anna. This is for the best. You can keep baking your little treats and leave the real business to someone who understands it. I stood up slowly, reaching into my pocket. My fingers curled around my keychain, a small copper whisk, a gift from my first employee on our opening day. I pulled out my keys and placed them on the table with a soft clink. Go ahead, I said, my voice surprisingly calm. Take it. Since you're the man of the family, you must know better than me. James snatched up the keys eagerly. Dad started saying something about how I was being sensible, but I was already walking away. I pushed through the kitchen doors one last time, running my hand along the industrial mixer I had saved for months to buy. Then I grabbed my bag from the office and left through the back door. They didn't know about the photos I'd taken, documenting every detail of the cafe's operations. They didn't know about the copies I'd made of all our recipes, supplier contracts, and customer records. And they definitely didn't know about the new business plan I had been quietly developing ever since James first started hinting about helping with the cafe. If I had learned anything from growing up with James, it was this. When he wanted something, he usually got it, and then he usually destroyed it. So I had prepared. As I drove home that night, I didn't cry. I didn't look back. Instead, I started counting the days until James proved exactly why this had been a terrible idea. I didn't have to wait long. The changes started immediately. James wasted no time implementing his vision. First, he fired Maria, my head pastry chef, who had been with me since opening day. Too expensive, he said. Then, he replaced our carefully sourced ingredients with cheap alternatives and slashed our signature items, replacing them with mass-produced pastries from a commercial supplier. I watched from a distance, getting updates from Lucy, one of the baristas who still texted me regularly. And just as I had predicted, Sweet Dreams Bakery and Cafe, the place I had built with love, care, and an unwavering belief in quality, was about to crumble. And when it did, I would be ready. The transformation was swift and brutal. The carefully crafted loaves I had spent years perfecting were replaced with par-baked frozen dough. The vintage decor, which had given the cafe its warmth and charm, was stripped away, replaced by sterile modern fixtures. The loyal customers who had supported us from the very beginning began to drift away, their quiet departures a testament to the declining quality and rising prices. Lucy's messages arrived like clockwork, each update another blow. He's installed TV screens everywhere, she texted one day, playing advertisements on loop. The place looks like a fast food chain now. I didn't respond, but I saved the message just as I had saved all the others. Every complaint, every piece of evidence was carefully filed away, knowing they would be useful when the time came. 3 months after James took over, my mother called. Her voice held an unfamiliar hesitation. The numbers are concerning, she admitted. James says it's just growing pains, but your father is worried. Would you consider coming back, just to help smooth things over? No, I said simply and hung up. Instead, I focused on my plan. Across town, I had taken a job at a small bakery owned by Margaret, a woman who had been in the business for over 30 years. She became a mentor, guiding me with the wisdom of someone who had seen it all before. I lost my first bakery to my ex-husband. She told me one morning as we shaped croissants together, "Men like your brother think running a food business is just about spreadsheets and profit margins. They don't understand that every recipe, every customer interaction, every little detail matters." She was right. James saw Sweet Dreams as just another business venture to be optimized, scaled, and stripped of its soul. He didn't understand that people didn't just come for coffee and pastries. They came for the warmth, the personal touch, the quiet joy of a place that felt like home. 4 months in, the cafe's reputation was in tatters. The same local food blog that had once named us Boston's best bakery published a scathing review, criticizing the soulless corporate changes. Loyal customers took to social media to express their disappointment. James' solution? He hired a PR firm and handed out discount coupons, throwing money at a problem he didn't understand. 5 months in, I started getting calls from suppliers. "Your brother's behind on payments," they said. "Is everything okay over there?" I made careful notes of every call, every warning sign, every unpaid bill. Piece by piece, I built my case. Exactly 6 months after James took over, my father showed up at my apartment. He looked older, the worry lines on his face deeper than I remembered. "We need to talk," he said. I let him in but didn't offer him anything. The last time I had offered him something, I had paid for it with my dream. "The cafe is in trouble," he admitted, sinking onto my couch. "James, he's made some mistakes. The bank is threatening to foreclose." I stayed silent, waiting. "We need your help, Anna. The customers keep asking for you. The staff is threatening to quit. Even your mother can see we made a terrible mistake." "And James?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. His expression darkened. "He's already moved on. Says the market wasn't right. The location was wrong. Some nonsense about economic conditions. He's looking into starting a cryptocurrency company now." Of course he was. James never stuck around for the fallout of his failures. "How bad is it?" I asked, though, from my sources, I already knew. "Bad," he admitted. "We're 3 months behind on loan payments. Suppliers are demanding cash up front. The health inspector cited us for violations last week. We're weeks away from having to close permanently." I walked to my desk and pulled out a thick folder. 6 months of documentation, photographs, customer complaints, supplier issues, financial records that my contacts had helped me gather. I placed it in front of him and sat down. "Here's what's going to happen," I said calmly. "You and Mom are going to sign the business over to me. Completely. No conditions. No co-signing. No family involvement." He opened his mouth, but I didn't let him interrupt. "I'll take over the debt, negotiate with the bank, and rebuild what James destroyed. But that's not all. You're also going to write a formal letter to every employee James fired, offering them their jobs back, with back pay. And you're going to take out a public notice in the local paper acknowledging that removing me was a mistake." He stared at me, the daughter he had never truly taken seriously. And in that moment, I saw the realization dawn in his eyes. He had underestimated me. "You've been planning for this," he said slowly. I met his gaze. "Since the day you let James take my dream away." 2 weeks later, I stood inside Sweet Dreams once again. This time, it was mine, truly mine. No strings, no conditions, no one looking over my shoulder, waiting for me to fail. The papers were signed. The public announcements were made. The apologies were issued. Maria was back in the kitchen, already working on restoring our signature items. Lucy and the other staff members were carefully reinstalling the vintage decor they had secretly stored away, waiting for this moment. The food blog that had once written us off published a new article. "Sweet Dreams returns to its roots. Original owner takes back the reins." And our customers? They started coming back, drawn by the familiar scent of freshly baked bread, the promise of something real and made with care. My mother stopped by on our first day back. She stood by the counter, watching as I decorated a wedding cake, something James had deemed unprofitable and had eliminated. "I'm sorry," she said finally. "We should have trusted you. We should have seen what you were capable of." I finished piping a delicate sugar flower before responding. "Yes, you should have." She hesitated. "And James, will you ever forgive him?" I thought of my brother, already chasing his next get-rich-quick scheme, leaving others to clean up his mess. "James did me a favor," I said at last. He showed me exactly how strong I am, how much I'm capable of. And he showed you exactly why you should have believed in me in the first place. She nodded slowly and left. I turned back to my cake, to my kitchen, to my dream, one I had fought tooth and nail to reclaim. A year later, Sweet Dreams was thriving once more. The loan was being paid off steadily. Our reputation not only restored but enhanced. And next door, in the space I had purchased, I had opened a small baking school, passing on the skills I had worked so hard to master. James never came back to the cafe. Last I heard, his cryptocurrency venture had collapsed, and he was looking into house flipping. But I kept the photos of his corporate overhaul displayed prominently in my office. A reminder that sometimes you have to lose everything to truly understand how hard you'll fight to get it back. Yesterday, a young woman came in for a job interview. She was fresh out of culinary school, passionate about baking, eager to learn. She reminded me of myself at that age. My brother says I'm wasting my time, she admitted hesitantly. Says I should get a real job in business. I smiled, thinking of the journey that had brought me here. Let me tell you a story, I said, tying my apron, about a baker who lost everything to her brother's business sense, and how she got it all back.